Well, hello and welcome to my little video about my Mamod SE1 or SE1A. I'm not quite sure which one it is exactly of the two. Reason being that one of the two models actually had a superheated boiler. Namely, this pipe here would have in fact gone back under the boiler into the flame from the burner to heat the return steam, which apparently would dry the steam, and then come back over the other side of the boiler and into the block that way. As you can see, this one doesn't do that. I'll confirm whether it's the SE1 or the SE1A in the description later on. Obviously this has got both the safety valve there and also the water fill and level valve. It's one of the earlier ones, so it doesn't have the glass fill level that some of them have there. Thing with the valves, especially on ones that have been stored, this one hasn't been stored for that long, perhaps a couple of months, but ones that are stored in attics or barns or what have you for many years, the threads on these valves can seize in, which basically means you have to cut them out and desolder the collar and everything else, which is a pain. I have done it on one of my other models, not this one, but obviously that's a pain. So they recommend that you only screw them in sort of halfway when you're not going to be using it for a long time, which is what I've been doing. This seal you can see there is probably a couple of months old. I replaced that when I redid this model, and as you can see on the safety valve, if I can show this on camera, the valve itself does work properly, and obviously you'll see that a bit more in a minute when it steams up. So we'll put that back in. Again, on the back you've got your water fill valve, again with a new seal, and again that turns quite easily. It's nicely oiled and doesn't stick and so on. Usual piston block with the domed end on the piston there. I believe the ones with the domed ends like that are newer models than the ones with the flat end, which I'll confirm in the details. Looks like one of the earlier brass wheels underneath all that paint there. You can tell that because this outer rim here is thinner than it is on some of the later wheels, which I believe they call Mazak wheels or something, I'm not quite sure. And of course, turning it turns nice and easy by hand like that. You get a bit of compression at the back of the stroke. You can see it's the raised stand, plinth, whatever you want to call it, which is one of the one of the newer ones. The older ones, i.e. 1950s odd, had flat Meccano-like plates rather than this raised board, whatever. Talking about age, you can see here, apologies for the shadow, that this is actually screwed and bolted in, as is the housing and the stand for the boiler. The nut and bolted models, which this one is, are apparently older than the ones that are riveted. You can tell the newer ones because there'll actually be rivets here rather than nuts and bolts on this one. So that's just a quick overview of it. You can see it's all nice and shiny. I polished that up and cleaned it up basically. The paintwork is still pretty decent. I think there's a couple of small chips and a couple of marks on there, for instance. Nothing too serious. I haven't really done much to this. This is my first little Mamod model I bought. Polished it up, cleaned it up, oiled it up. You might be able to see a bit of fluff sticking in the grease and so on the piston arm there, but that's all good. As I say, restoration, haven't really done anything much to it. So yeah, small, does what it does, pretty good example of what it is. And pretty tidy all over. I'm going to stop filming now while I get the kettle boiling and stuff, and we'll get it steamed up.